Greetings fellow gorehounds and welcome back to another Blood Splattered vlog. So I'm just gonna pop in here with a quick review of The Meg, the latest giant shark monster movie starring Jason Statham. And I gotta say, going into this movie, I was pretty excited because I love giant monster movies, I love stupid shark movies, and this movie had Jason Statham on top of that, who in my opinion is one of the most underrated leading men of action movies. So when you combine all that together, this movie had the perfect recipe to be a movie for me. And having finally seen the movie, I can safely say that yes, I thoroughly enjoyed The Meg. It's not the greatest movie in the world, it's not gonna blow your mind, but it will give you exactly what you came for. There's a giant shark, it's terrorizing people and eating the fuck out of them. And there's also Jason Statham being a complete and utter badass. And on top of that, there's a lot of other characters that are really fun to watch. There's a lot of inter-character relationship bickering in this movie that I personally found funny as hell. On top of that, the CGI for the monster looks pretty good, so no complaints there. There's even this adorable little kid in the movie who over the course of the movie befriends Jason Statham, and the friendship between the two of them is just precious. There were many times over the course of this movie when the two of them were interacting where I just found myself going, aww? That is so cute, and I am glad it's in the movie, and I wasn't expecting it to be in the movie, so there you go. Now on the downside, I do have a couple complaints about this movie. Number one, I really wish this movie went for an R rating. I mean, in its current PG-13 state, it works as a movie, it is enjoyable, but there were many times throughout the movie where I just found myself going, man, I really wish these characters could swear. Like with some of the shit that happens in this movie, you just really want to hear the characters just yell, fuck, or shit, or damn. Just something, anything other than the PG-13 language they use throughout this movie. And on top of that, you can really tell during some of the kill sequences when the movie was held back. Either because the studio wanted it to be PG-13 so they didn't let them go full bore with some of the kills, or someone decided during editing to make it PG-13 and cut out all the really gory bits. And you can tell some of it was there on set because there is some scenes where there's gore. It's not coming out of anything, it's like on the walls and shit. But I would prefer to see a cut of this movie that actually shows that shit happening when it happens. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but hopefully that makes sense. And my other complaint about this movie isn't really a complaint, it's almost a selling point. This movie is ridiculous. There's scenes in this movie that don't make any goddamn sense. Like, for example, when the shark is stalking this beach, some of the scenes of the shark swimming underneath all the beachgoers makes no sense. They would have totally been displaced by the water since it was swimming under it if it was that big. There is no fucking way a shark that big was going to be stealthy in any way, shape, or form, but they still did it in the movie. And while it makes no sense, I was still entertained by how much it didn't make sense. It's kind of like the same way when I'm watching a Godzilla movie and you see those little toy army trucks going around. And you're sitting there like, come on, that army truck looks stupid as fuck. But the moment Godzilla stomps on it, you're like, yes! I'm all about that army truck. That army truck is awesome. Stomp on them some more, Godzilla. That's how I was with all this stupid shit in this movie. I was just rolling with it and having a blast. But if you're the kind of person who can't handle that kind of stupid, then you might want to go see something else. You have been warned. Oh yeah, and one more thing. I know this movie was based on a book, much like Jaws, but also like Jaws, this movie does a lot differently. It takes a couple of the names and the giant monster in question, but does its own thing with it. So if you're a big fan of that book, you might be disappointed by some of the changes they make. Once again, you have been warned. Anyway, my fellow gorehounds, as per usual, I'll include an Amazon affiliate link in the description below. And if you click that link and buy or rent the movie with that link, I will get a kickback from it. And just, man, I had such a fun time with this movie, and I am so glad that giant monster movies are in. Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, the Jurassic Park sequels, and now Meg. Oh man, keep on bringing on the giant monsters and I will totally be there. In fact, bring on some giant bug movies. Do like a big budget remake of them. I'd watch the shit out of that. Come on, Hollywood, you know you want to. Anyway, I guess I should probably move on to the spoilers since I'm now talking about other movies that aren't The Meg, so here are the spoilers. Anyway, this movie opens up with the introduction of Jason Statham's character. He's this deep-sea rescue diver who basically does all the dangerous missions that every other deep-sea diver is scared to do. So for example, when this one submarine dives way deeper than any other sub has in the history of mankind, and then something goes wrong, he is the one that goes down to save them. Even though, once again, no one has done this before, so he would be the second person who did it. But he is that badass, so you trust him to do it. But something goes terribly wrong in the middle of this rescue. Something is attacking the ship from the outside. And naturally, because they're inside, they can't see outside, and all the computers are all fucked up. Plus, he's in the middle of a rescue scenario, so he's gotta move it. And he successfully rescues the entire crew of the sub, but 2 of his men get left behind. And it's one of those cases where if he didn't leave those men behind, they all would have died. But it's this choice that's gonna haunt him for the rest of his life. And I really love this opening scene because it does a good job of setting up how much of a badass Jason Statham is. It sets up his internal conflict that's gonna go with him throughout the rest of the movie. And it's just legitimately intense, and you actually fear for him and his crew, even though you know he's the main character, so he's gotta live, right? But as the scene shows as it goes on, not everyone in this beginning is gonna live. Anyway, after that, we flash forward to the future, in which this giant undersea, research station is built. And it's being paid for by this other character, who's basically like this Elon Musk-type billionaire. And he's played by Rainn Wilson. And I love the way they play his character at the beginning. He's obviously not as smart as any of the scientists, but he's also not a complete asshole either, and he's actually kind of charming. But he is a little douchey, so you're not sure if over the course of the movie he's gonna be an asset, or if he's gonna be like a human villain in the film. And I really liked that I wasn't able to predict where his character was gonna go, like good guy or bad guy, from the get-go. There was a little wiggle room there for him to go either way. So anyway, he's shown up to see that his money's being well spent, and they're currently prepping to show off to him their first big finding. Because apparently they have this theory that in this one section of the ocean, the bed is not actually the bed, and that it's actually a thin layer of smoke that's blocking shit, and underneath that smoke, there's actually more ocean. And thus, underneath that, there might be more species to research, like giant octopi or whatever. I guess fog is actually way better than smoke. I wasn't sure what to call it. So anyway, from now on, I'm going to call it the fog. So they get a vessel, they go down and they penetrate the fog, but then something happens when they get onto the other side. They are immediately attacked by something, and their ship ends up being stuck on the floor. And there's no real surprises here except for the fact that the crew that goes underneath the fog includes the woman who's going to be playing Batwoman on the CW show, and the actor who played Hero from Heroes, and it was really cool to see him in this movie because I didn't realize he was. And it turns out there's a reason why I didn't know he was in this movie, because he's one of the first characters to die. So anyway, they assemble an emergency meeting with the ship now stuck underneath the fog, and the head of the research station is like, well, there's only one man who can do this mission, and everyone else is like, no, he left 2 of his men to die, you can't trust him. And the guy's like, well, who else are we gonna trust? We gotta do this, so they call in Jason Statham. And I like that right away, no one on the station except for the head guy actually trusts Statham. And he doesn't even want to do this rescue. He's retired, but they get him to do it because it turns out the woman who's going to play Batwoman is actually his wife. Well, ex-wife. They were together before, but they kind of broke up after the whole incident. And she basically blamed him for the death of their crew members and did not once believe him when he said something attacked their ship. But now, even though he's been proven right because something did in fact attack this new ship, no one trusts him because they don't think that he's of the right mind. And also, quick side note, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he's prepping his rescue pod, and he finds this little girl stowaway on his pod, and the little girl is one of the little girls of one of the members of the station, who, by the way, decided, fuck it, she's not gonna wait for him, she goes down there to save them herself. And I like her character, she's really fucking badass. I do not know who plays her, it's a Chinese actress. This movie was obviously one of those Chinese co-productions. But anyway, the scene with him and the little girl is just adorable, and I just love their friendship. It is cute. So anyway, he goes down there, and immediately he and the other person who went down there to save them are attacked by the giant shark. And he immediately spots what it is. It's a megalodon. A prehistoric giant shark. 'Cause fuck yeah! But while he's trying to rescue the crew, the shark makes it really hard, and they end up having to leave someone behind, and it's Hero from Heroes, except he's not left behind, he decides for himself that he's gonna stay behind. Basically, he distracts the shark with the lights on the little sub, and he completely dies when the shark grabs it and bites it and it explodes. Bye-bye, Hero. It was nice seeing you. And so far, at this point in the movie, I am loving it. The scenes are intense, they're action-packed, they're funny as hell, and I actually care for most of the characters. I want to see them survive. I'm truly sad when Hero dies. So he rescues the rest of the crew, he gets them back onto the station, but oh shit, one of the sharks followed them through the fog. He bites onto the station and leaves this giant teeth mark, and it's like, oh my god. And wait a minute, did I just say he? Because the shark in this movie is a girl. And it's exactly the kind of strong female characters I want to see more of in movies. You hear me, Hollywood? Bring me more giant female monsters. Let them rain death and destruction upon us with their womanly rage. which I don't know how a shark is gonna rain. I guess it's a Sharknado thing. I don't fucking know. So that escaped shark ends up killing a bunch of shark poachers, which, rock on, go shark. But because it does that, it allows the rest of the crew of the research station to track down the shark. So they track it down, they try to tether it, they try to put a tracker on it. Shit goes awry. There's this intense scene in which the girl who Jason Statham is starting to fall for and is the mother of the little girl, she gets into a shark cage to shoot it and tranquilize it because she wants the shark to live and finds it inhumane to kill it. But I mean, come on, at this point you should just blow the fucking thing up. I am all for animal conservation, but that thing is too dangerous to have around, just flat out. It's like my problem with the end of Fallen Kingdom. I get it, your heart's in the right place, but no, too many people are gonna die. But anyway, naturally that fails and they end up having to kill the shark. But after they kill the shark, it turns out there is another bigger shark that jumps out of the water and eats it. Because it's just hanging there on the ship, so it's like it's blood in the water. You know, it's why my lady friends call it Shark Week when they're menstruating. It summons the sharks because they be thirsty fuckers. So anyway, now they got a bigger shark on their hands, so Rainn Wilson's character contacts the Chinese government and decides to make it their problem. Except wait, he doesn't actually do that. He tricks the research station into thinking that's what he did, because he does not want to be liable for any more deaths at the hands of the shark. So it's definitely a bad move, but it's not entirely a bad guy, but still, he ends up getting eaten by the shark in one of the most brutal deaths in the entire movie. And it's one of the deaths where it's very obvious that the movie was an R rating at some point. And I really want to see a cut that actually just goes for the throat with that shit. You hear me, Hollywood? Give me the R-rated cut of the Meg, please. Oh fuck yes, do it. So anyway, all these scenes so far are pretty good. There's some ludicrous shit, especially with the shark cage being indestructible for the shark to eat it. Like, obviously, it should have crushed it, but whatever. It's made out of this magic plastic that is indestructible. What? Just roll with it. You know, I make fun of that, but I bet there's gonna be someone in the comment section who proves that that would actually work, so I might just be dumb here. It wouldn't be the first time I've been dumb, and it certainly won't be the last. So anyway, they find out Rainn Wilson lied to them and he didn't contact any government whatsoever. And on top of that, the giant shark is heading straight for this beach, and it's the most populated beach in all of China. So now there's a ticking clock. They gotta stop the shark before the shark eats the entirety of the beach. Now spoilers, they do not make it in time before the shark attacks the beach. And this is the other big scene in which I really would have loved an R rating, because I would love to have seen like mayhem on the level of Piranha 3D. I know that's not for everybody, but that would certainly be for me. You get this really intense scene in which the shark is stalking this dog. Man, if this movie had killed that dog, I would have been like, fuck this movie. Fuck it right, it's shark ass. So Jason Statham and the rest of the crew devise a plan to lure the shark using whale noises. And this works, and I am not going to spoil anything more, because that's the end of the movie, and that's for you to see for yourself. But needless to say, if you like giant monster movies, or if you like dumb animals attack movies like Deep Blue Sea, then this movie is 100% for you, and I recommend every fucking second of it. But if you do not like dumb movies, if you like your movies to be a little bit higher brow and a little bit smarter, then avoid this movie at all costs, because it's dumb as shit. And if you're somewhere in the middle and you just want to see Jason Statham be a badass for 2 hours, then you could do worse than this. So give Meg a chance, and with all that said, my fellow gorehounds, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And goddamn, I must be on some sort of sugar high because I've been hyper as fuck this entire video, so I'm gonna go relax. Peace out, my fellow gorehounds, and I shall catch y'all later.